Welcome to Joyful Jen Yoga. Today's practice is a gentle practice to connect and become aware of the fifth chakra or Vishuddha Chakra, our neck and throat area, okay? For this practice, I have a strap which we'll use, blocks always, and I'm sitting on a blanket. So go ahead and grab your props. And we'll get started in a seat. So starting to draw some awareness before we move as we start to sit. Start to tip your pelvis forward just enough that you can feel length through your side bodies. Again, sit up on a block, a blanket, anything that will help you to achieve that. And then start to lift up through the crown of your head, grow tall. Eyes can come to close or just a soft gaze out in front of you. And then start to notice your awareness. Bring it to your throat. Notice where your heart and your chin are and where your throat is in relation to those spaces. So perhaps we lift our heart just a hair higher. And then maybe we draw our chin back just a bit. Sometimes I imagine, right, like taking your finger and just kind of pushing your chin back. Notice if that changes how you breathe here. Now, when I sit in meditation, I have a preference to dipping my chin just a hair, kind of a sign of reverence, sign of gratitude and being humble. And notice if that makes sense here for you. It lengthens the back of your neck, but it brings a little bit of contraction or compression to the front of your neck throat area. And then when you tip your chin just slightly, notice how the lift, the imaginary lift from the crown of the head, moves back a little bit. So the lift comes from more the back part of your head. Notice if that makes sense for you. If you find that this inhibits your breath at all, you might lift your chin back up a little. See here if you can commit to breathing in and out through your nose. And as we sit and contemplate our throat chakra area, we think about satya, truth. We think about communication, how we speak and how we receive messages. How do you speak your truth? What does that sound like for you? What does that look like for you? Take another moment here in this shape, in this seat. And then keeping your eyes closed or soft, start to lift your chin once more so that your chin is parallel to the earth. Maybe a little press back, just a hair to notice. Almost like you had a wall right behind you and you're pressing the back of your head to the wall. And from that, maybe we lift up just a hair taller in our seat. Notice if this position shifts your focus or your breath or changes anything for you. And just for contrast, not because we actually want to sit like this, can you let your chin lift just slightly, almost like you were like snubbing your nose at something. Your chin lifts slightly. Notice what that does to your cervical spine or your neck area. For me, it feels particularly uncomfortable. Notice if that's true for you too. And then return your chin back to parallel, back to kind of that neutral place. And maybe it feels like a little relief in the back of your neck. Let your eyes flutter open. Let your hands come to your sides and just shift the cross of your legs. So switch which ankles out in front. And again, find that seat and then notice. You might even take your hand or your finger out in front of you a little bit. Try to keep your shoulders over your hips. So the only thing we're moving is our head and our neck. So I don't know, maybe half an inch, your fingers in front of your chin. Can you jut your head forward and see if you can touch your finger? And then keeping that finger there, can you pull your chin back, kind of retract it from that finger? And then again, press your chin forward and pull back. I like to think of this as like you look a little bit like a turkey and then you look like you have like 1,000 chins. It's all good. Just a couple more times. Press forward and press back. Now, find again that neutral place, but think a little bit of this action of chin back. Especially, we spend so much time these days on our devices or reading. I find I do this reading too. I catch myself all day long in this head forward position. Working and kind of connecting to our throat chakra, it's a really great opportunity to think about what our head and our neck are doing. So keep that action of the chin pulling back slightly. And then with this, keep your chin parallel to the earth and then gently turn your chin to the right ever so slightly. And inhale, come back to center. Turn your chin ever so slightly to the left and come back to center. Pause. Notice if one side had more space, more range than the other. And we'll do it one more time to notice. Chin over to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, chin over to the left. And center. Beautiful. Let your chin come down, kind of like you're coming into a Jalandhara Bandha, where you're getting that throat lock. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, let it go, don't worry. But the action here is that we'll lift our chest a little bit up as we pull our chin toward our chest. And then pause here with this lift of your chest, lowering of your chin. Notice that it's quite an active pose, actually. And then let that chin draw over to your right shoulder any amount. And bring your chin back to center, back down to your chest, and transition it over to the left. One more on each side. Come back through center, move your chin over to the right. Come back through center, chin over to the left. Bring your chin back to center and gently lift your chin back up. So we're going to come into one of my favorite shapes that I learned from Amy Apoliti, and she calls it the bulldog. And my students are very familiar with this. We do it often. It feels wonderful. We don't do much in our life to open and stretch the front of our neck and our chest muscles. So you'll take your hands, almost like that choking symbol, right? Like you're in a restaurant and like everybody knows you're choking. We're not putting our hands on our neck. Our hands will come right at our collarbones and we'll press down. Now I find already there's a little stretch. Now keep that and then see if you can lift your chin any amount without getting that compression in the neck. That's not great for you. Lift up, chin up, and this is where we can add the bulldog if that makes sense to you. Your bottom jaw will come over your top so you look like you have that underbite. It looks like that, right? So we'll take 10 breaths like that. Pull your bottom teeth over your top if that makes sense. Chin up toward the sky a little bit. Gently relax your teeth. Bring your chin back to neutral, arms rest down. Now, what I love about that, aside from the stretch in the front of the throat in the kind of upper neck area, I love how you can really feel your breath up into your heart space with your hands there. So notice if that connects with you. If it doesn't, let it go. We'll come on to hands and knees. So I like to always take a blanket under my knees for a little padding, see if that makes sense to you. We'll take 3 cat-cows, really conscious here of what you are doing with your neck and your throat. So inhale, tail lifts up, belly draws forward, heart and chin draw forward. On exhale, tail tucks, belly lifts, back of the heart lifts, chin might come up to your chest if that feels good. 2 more. Inhale, lifting heart, lifting throat, lifting chin. Exhale, tucking it in, drawing it in. 1 more time. Inhale to lift. And exhale to round it in. Find neutral. Same idea as warming up our spine, but we'll look laterally here. So inhale at center, exhale, look over your left shoulder and see if you can bring your chin kind of to that left shoulder as you look back toward left toes. Inhale, come through center, chin over to the right shoulder, looking back towards your right heel. Well, twice more on each side, center here. Exhale, look left, chin to shoulder. Inhale, center, chin to right shoulder, look right. 1 more time in each direction, chin to the left. Inhale, center, chin to the right. Inhale, back through to center. We'll step our right foot forward in between our hands. This is where we might have our blocks. Pause and notice what that low lunge feels like here. And then lift your hips back a little bit. Walk your hands up your right thigh. So both knees are in that 90-90, so you're really steady here. We'll inhale, reach your arms up. You might even gaze up towards your thumbs for a second with a little lift of the front of your throat. Inhale here. Exhale, bring your arms out in front of you. And pretend we're kind of stringing a bow here. We'll take our right hands, bring it all the way along the inside of that left hand, turn and watch our thumb as we reach back. 4 more times like that. So sweep that right hand back to the left, pull that bow, your gaze is on that right thumb, your chin moves with your right arm, again forward, sweep it back. Keep your gaze on that thumb if it feels okay. Reaching back, opening heart, opening chest, considering your shoulders. Last time, reach it back. Come forward, arms sweep up for a breath. And then hands come down onto those blocks. Pull that right knee underneath you, and we'll come into a little puppy pose stretch. I like my elbows on blocks here. I know it intensifies the sensation in your shoulders, so you might have your hands on the earth. So either elbows on those blocks, melting heart in between your arms, or arms stretched out, melting again, heart toward the earth. If this feels good, and this is a huge if, you might bring your chin to the mat. Only if that makes sense, in your shoulders, in your neck. It intensifies the opening in the front of the throat. And then we all work our way back up to all fours. Find those blocks underneath your hands again, and we'll step that left foot forward. Take a pause in the low lunge, just allowing it to be a nice opening for the hips. And then think about pulling hips back slightly, walking hands up the thighs so you're again in that 90-90 position. Arms stretch up to start out. You might look up. Take a breath in. And on exhale, arms come out in front of you. Shoulders stay on your back. Left hand grazes your right. Our gaze is on our left thumb as we reach back. This can be a little tricky with balance because your drishti changes here. Your gaze changes. Pulling back. 3 more. Reaching your left hand to your right. I know this isn't really how you string a bow, but this is how I imagine happening here. Like a little archer. Reaching back. And coming forward, arms sweep up for a breath. And hands touch down. Bringing that left knee back behind you. We're back in puppy pose, your version. So hips are over knees. Arms are extended out, forehead on the earth or a block, or maybe chin to the ground. Take another inhale. And exhale. Gently work your hands onto blocks if they weren't already. And we'll gently just tuck our toes, lift up kind of into a crouchy down dog, and then step our feet to the top of the space. Reach for your strap. Hopefully it's in reaching distance. Bend your knees and inhale, lift all the way up. Take hands to heart. So you just need enough space on your mat where you can have your feet good hips width distance apart. Take your strap, your belt, whatever you're using. If your strap has a metal part, keep it in your hand, okay? And then we'll reach our arms out in front of us. So the strap is pretty wide here, knees are soft. Inhale, lift your arms up, and as you do, notice if your ribs pop out. They probably did, unless you're really mindful of it. Bring your arms out in front of you and notice that your ribs kind of draw back in. Keep the ribs drawing in as you stretch your arms up. Notice how your shoulders feel. Take an inhale, and then on exhale, bring your arms back behind you. You might have to take your hands a little wider. I do from where I started out. Inhale, lift your arms back up. Exhale, bring your arms down in front of you. We'll do that 4 more times. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, sweep it back, getting into those shoulders, which are also related to our throat chakra area. Think about how your shoulders respond when you're in confrontation, right? Imagine you're having a difficult conversation with somebody in front of you. How are you posturing your body, right? Do you find that you kind of close in, or you're kind of chest out, hips forward, throat open, right? Let's take 1 more. I was kind of talking and distracting myself. I don't know how many we did. But think about that. This is a really good opportunity to connect kind of to your upper body, even thinking heart chakra, throat chakra, where am I? How does my body respond to challenges, especially if I'm in a place where I'm speaking my truth? So from here, if you have that blanket on your mat, just kind of slide it off to the side so it doesn't become an issue. We'll come to the top of the mat and then step the left foot back. So you're in kind of a short pyramid. Your hips are able to stay forward. Reach the hand with the strap, your right hand, reach it up, slide the strap tail behind you. See if you can take your left hand to the strap as you bend your right elbow. Keep pulling that right hip back. This might be where we are. Ribs keep pulling back. Soften the knees so they're not locked out. Inhale, lift your chin slightly if that feels good. You can press the back of your head into that right forearm. Here is another place to stay. If this makes sense in your body, you might pull your right hip back as you draw forward here. So it's a variation in pyramid with those Gomukhasana arms, right? Typically we're in that reverse prayer, which can be intense. This can be intense. So wherever you are, be there mindfully. Keep pulling that right hip back, left hip forward. And then press into your heels. Inhale, use your core to stand all the way tall. Soften your hands away from one another, and we'll switch sides. Left foot steps up, right foot steps back. Now as you do, make sure you're taking up plenty of space on your mat. Sweep your little strap tail behind you. Left arm reaches up, a little pat on the back. Right hand comes back behind you. So as you lift, consider where you'd like to stop along this journey. Perhaps it's here, gazing out in front of you. Maybe chin lifts a little and head presses toward forearm. Wherever we are, keep those ribs pulling down, lift your heart, and then if folding forward makes sense, go for it. Soften the knees. We're not locking out our knees here. And then gently press through your heels, soft knees, strong core, stand all the way tall. Release your hands away from one another, and then slide the strap off to the side. And just take a second to wiggle out your shoulders or sway side to side, whatever makes sense for you as a little release. And then we'll work our way to the top of our space. Inhale, arms sweep up. On exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and then step back, one shin and then the other, so you're on all fours. And then we'll slide all the way down onto our belly. So it could be kind of a knee down chaturanga, or however you get to your stomach safely. Elbows will come right underneath your shoulders, forearms parallel, find your Sphinx Pose. Take an inhale here, and then on exhale, see how it would feel to bring your right chin, nope, just your chin, over to your right shoulder. Inhale through center, chin to left shoulder. Be sure this feels free in your neck. If it doesn't work, keep gazing forward. Inhale brings you to center, exhale from side to side. Notice how your head, neck, and shoulders are responding to this. Go ahead and go one more to each side. And come back up through center. Let your elbows kick out to the side. Forehead could rest down. A little wiggle of your hips side to side. And then slide your hands in line with your chest. Press back up to all fours. And then go ahead and wiggle yourself onto your back. However you get there is perfect. I should say, before you go all the way down to your back, find your blocks first. Now, I love cork blocks. This can be a lot, so know that. If you have cork blocks, there's a lot of sensation. Regular blocks, there's a lot of sensation. We'll come into a supported fish. So our one block will be on the highest or medium height for our head. The other block will be right at the base of our shoulder blades, possibly on the medium, possibly on the low height. So as we start to lower down, feet can plant, hands reach back for that block just to kind of make sure it's right underneath your shoulder blades, right at the base of your shoulder blades. And then we'll lower down, our head can rest on the highest block. Now here's the trick. As you're setting yourself up, you want to be mindful of where your chin is. So I can feel my chin is actually dropping down, so I'm creating that 1,000 chins kind of place. Now, for many of us, our chin is actually up to the sky. Not great, so we put more padding underneath our head to let our chin be balanced and neutral. I'm actually going to drop my block to the medium height so that my chin is more parallel to the ground, if not tipped up just a little bit, to get that opening through the heart and neck and throat area. Now, if you want to keep your feet in kind of that constructive rest pose, feet wide, knees point up to the sky and kind of in, go for it. Feet could be together, knees could be separated in a Baddha Konasana, Legs can be extended. Do what makes sense for you. The position of your legs can really take the compression out of the low back if you find that this is hard on the low back. Remember that that block that's under your shoulder blades can be at the lowest height as well. Imagine you are just melting your body over these blocks. Your heart is open, your throat is open, ready to speak your truth. We'll take 10 more breaths here. Envision the space around your throat open, able to give and receive messages with ease. Envision a world where the only thing that comes out of your mouth is truth. Envision a world where the only thing that comes into your ears is truth. Take another breath. And then when you're ready, we'll bend our knees if they're not. Start to draw the littlest tuck to our chin as we roll to our favorite side and slowly lower onto the ground. Now, as you do so, you're going to slide those blocks out from underneath you. And we'll lower onto our back body. As we arrive there, we might notice that there's a lot of spaciousness around our heart and maybe our upper chest and throat as well. Now, option, if you love shoulder stand, if it's safe on your neck, shoulder stand's a great pose for our throat chakra. I'm not a fan, but it doesn't feel good in my body. So I'm going to come into a supported hip stand instead. So you could take a block at whatever height you'd like underneath your pelvis, underneath your sacrum, so that you're really supported. The heaviest part of your pelvis is supported on the block. One knee and then the other hug into your chest. This could be your shape, or you could extend your legs out and up overhead. So there's still a mild pressure, mild compression on that throat area. It's obviously not as kind of pronounced as it would be if you were in shoulder stand. I find shoulder stand very uncomfortable on my neck. It's also hard for me to breathe, so it's not my favorites. But this is a great opportunity to get a little inversion, to have a slightly different way to stimulate the throat chakra area. I'll take another breath in and out. And then go ahead and bend your knees, release one foot to the ground and then the other. Slide that block out from underneath you. And we'll lower on down, making your way to your Shavasana. As you set up, take a moment to wiggle your shoulder blades under your back so your heart and your throat are lifted. If your chin is not in a parallel place, you might prop yourself up with a blanket under your head. You can let your feet flop open, let your legs get heavy. Feel free to adjust and wiggle so there's plenty of space in your low back. And then before we drop into our Shavasana, I want us to take 3 lion's breaths here. So our tongue will stick out, our eyes will bulge on exhale 3 times here. Inhale through your nose. Exhale. Inhale through your nose. Last time. Before you drop in, you might open and close your mouth, wiggle your jaw around, stick your tongue out a few times. Let your jaw kind of relax, your throat soften. You might take a swallow or two here, again, to relax your throat. And then let your body drop in. Start to feel the earth supporting you. Feel that gentle lift of your heart, of your throat, where you can connect to that space of love and compassion around your hearts. And from that space, we speak our truth. Envision the color turquoise around your throat, your neck. And imagine every time you utter a word, it's thoughtful. Imagine it being helpful. Imagine everything you say to be intelligent, necessary, and kind. Maybe you imagine every time you speak, that color turquoise surrounds your words, protecting you, keeping you in truth, in honesty. As always, stay as long as you can in your Shavasana. If you're ready to move on with your day, you might wiggle fingers and toes. Start to circle ankles and wrists. And then stretching your arms up overhead. Take a big breath in, and let's end with one more lion's breath. Big inhale. Big and then hug your knees into your chest. Take a pause to really appreciate yourself here, your journey. And then roll to your favorite side. Use your hands. Guide your way up to that seat. You might sit up on the edge of a blanket again. And then when you arrive, sweep your arms up overhead. Exhale, bring hands to heart, Anjali Mudra, and then again, set yourself up. Heart lifts, crown lifts, chin pulls back, and then it might drop a little bit towards your chest. Just in reverence, not to cut off your air supply, just kind of a little humbling gesture. And then bowing your forehead to your fingertips. In gratitude, I wish you all abundant joy. Be well.